This is Born 62, I'm Henrik Jürs. Today I'll be talking about an exciting way of thinking, a concept you can say that most people will say, no, we don't use that. But subconsciously, a lot of us does exactly that. What is it? It is the thought of all or nothing. And what is that? That is when you suddenly risk everything because you think now you have either a chance to win everything or you have just lost everything. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Most people, if they have a dream, a goal, something they want to do, something they want to obtain, build a house, get a new career, get an education, whatever it is, they'll try to make a kind of plan, a kind of program. Just like if you were doing a fitness program or something like that, there must be a structure. And depending on what you're going to do, that structure can be very loose or it can be very, very detailed and structured. Each day you have to do this and that and so on. And suddenly you see people when they're almost at the end, when they have almost won, then suddenly they make some kind of crazy adjustment or stray away from the plan and do some crazy stuff, and they kind of lose it. And why do they do that? Usually because we are insecure, we don't really trust ourselves to be able to do this. We have doubts that we can actually accomplish our goal. We have doubts that we can win. And then suddenly we are influenced by something. Someone will give us some good advice, or we are in some way pushed away from our original plan and into some crazy stuff. Fighters, boxers, bodybuilders, people who have to reach a certain weight, a certain condition. You see them follow a diet for months, and then a week before the contest they suddenly eat some strange stuff because someone told them it was good, or someone wrote that on Facebook or whatever. And it's totally crazy. And if you say, nah, I would never do stuff like that, then please follow along and see if it's entirely correct. If we start at a very strange example, Hollywood movies, we all know that they're not realistic. When we see some action hero with a machine gun in each hand, and apparently he can hit bad guys 1,000 meters away, while they, even with scoped rifles, are not able to hit him at a very close range, we know it's Hollywood, it's make-believe, it's fantasy. But still, some of this yippee-ki-yay mentality affects a lot of people, that suddenly something drives them to stray away from their plan and not work structured anymore, but do some wild stuff in the last moment. And some of this is, of course, because we want to be entertained. That is why the movies are made that way. But actually, if you see the difference between the first Die Hard movie, he's alone in a building with bad guys, and he sneaks around like a ninja, taking them out one at a time. That is the right way to do that. That is a structured plan. In later movies, he flies into a multi-story building in a helicopter, and everybody knows that you would die from that. Even if you crash on a flat field with a helicopter, chances are that you are dead. But if you fly into a building, well, you're gone. But still, he jumps out, 2 machine guns, and shoot all the bad guys. We're seeing that kind of stuff 1,000 times. And while we know it's fantasy, it still affects our way of thinking. You can say the same with any kind of gambling industry, bookmakers, casinos, the lottery. Who will always win? The casino, the lottery, of course. And there is this myth that sometimes you can get lucky and win it all. But that myth is something they really like, because that will make more people actually gamble. And for each time there is someone who takes it all, there's a lot of people who loses a little bit. And that is the way you make money in that kind of industry. So usually people win by not taking chances, but follow a structured plan. Of course, I'm not saying you should never take a chance. If an opportunity arises, sometimes we need to act fast. If you have planned to go on a fishing trip this afternoon and catch a big fish, and now it's morning and you can actually hook a big fish, you don't say, go away, Mr. Fish, you are not supposed to be here before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, you will have to act now. And so it is. And the real hard thing here is to see an opportunity when it's there and act fast. But in everyday life, whatever your goal is, don't suddenly risk it all because you think that the plan I've been following isn't good enough. Maybe it's not good enough, and then you need to adjust it in small bits. And that is something quite different from just risking it all suddenly. The other side of the coin, it is when you think all is lost. And that is actually what you see a lot of people do, especially if you're trying to diet, trying not to smoke anymore, stop drinking, stop eating too much, something like that. People follow this very hard, tough plan that will get them smoke-free, drink-free, fat-free, whatever. And at some point they will falter. At some point they will get a cigarette at a party or have a drink or suddenly eat something. And then it's like, poof, everything goes out the window. Oh, I might just as well give up. I have had a cigarette, everything is lost, I didn't keep my promise, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was just one bloody cigarette. Get back on track tomorrow. There's a huge difference between having one beer and feeling guilty about that, and then having one beer and say, fuck it all, and now I'll have 10 beers, and tomorrow I'll have 10 more, and so on. So the difference here is that everybody who's ever going after any plan will always have setbacks. There will always be times when you need to adjust the plan. The idea that progress is just going up like this, it doesn't exist in reality. Walt Disney, he went bankrupt several times before Snow White was in movie theaters. If he had just said, well, all is lost, I'll go back and be a peanut farmer or whatever he could do, then we had never seen any of the Disney movies or all the other adventures that brought us. So a very important thing here is all is not lost just because you stray from your plan just a little bit. I have a great example here. I saw a TV show about people trying to lose weight, and they were divided in two groups. And each group was put into identical rooms with two identical cakes. One group was told that this cake was a black hole of energy, of calories, of fat and sugar. And if they just looked at the cake, the diet would be out the window and everything would be lost. They had to cover up and simply don't get near the cake. Calories from the cake will go through the air and into your body. What happened with that group, there was of course hidden cameras. What happened here was that eventually one of them couldn't resist the cake and took a slice. And what did happen then? The other group, I'll get back to the first group here, the other group was told that this was actually a diet cake. And if they took this thin a slice, they would still be within their diet measure from that day. They would still be within the program. They couldn't eat something else later on, but they could have a bit of cake and still be within that goal. So the second group each took a very thin slice of the cake and let the rest be, because they believed they were still all right. The first group, of course, when someone had broken down and taken part of the cake, they ate it all. When the scientist came back and looked at it, everything was gone because all was lost. They had strayed from the plan, and now they could just as well eat all the cake. I think this is a really good example of why you should accept that any plan is just a description of the best case scenario. So when we make plans, we work to make them happen, but accept the fact that every plan has to be adjusted. So get away from that mentality of all or nothing and instead work structured with your plan, with your dreams, with your goals in life. That was it for today. Hope you enjoyed this. Write me if you have any questions or suggestions. Hi.